Okay.
Now, I feel like there's a tremendous amount of pressure on me to really this question.
That was the intent.
We're ready?
You guys, everyone good? Okay, 1 second now.
Don't choke, Gary.
Everyone good? You good? Okay. Good.
As I was saying, no, not every kid that comes into Division I basketball, you don't always hear that. Sometimes you do hear that just a bad kid, but he happens to be talented. With Jaron,
Right.
For the people I talked to, they said he's not a bad kid. He's just made some really dumb decisions, and he probably just needs structure. Not to say that it wouldn't work out, but that's what they thought. And
Yeah.
has that been what you've experienced?
Yeah, the thing, Gary, with Jaron is he's made some mistakes, and part of his mistakes he made was he was being a follower, and he needs structure and discipline in his life, and I'm not saying we're any miracle, because we're not. It's just that college, the atmosphere of college, has given him that, that he's been held accountable on everything, and he's really a nice young man. He's a good guy. I mean, his teammates get along with him. And here's the biggest thing: he's very unselfish. He's a very unselfish player, and he's unselfish off the court as well too. So I just think the big thing is he knows, okay, if I don't go to X, Y, and Z, then there's a consequence. Whether it's running. I mean, we've had to do that. We brought him in 5 a.m, ran him hard, and I've so we've done that before, and I think and through time he's understand, okay, everything that I do, I'm going to be held accountable. Everything that I do. Now, that doesn't mean you got to do that for every play. Some guys can handle more freedom than others, but that's part of my job as a coach: who can handle what and who can't. And then until they can be able to kind of take that on their own, just like you would with your own child, then you can move some steps away.
Does it help, do you think, that to see, for example, you're late for practice because you're behind a train and you sit? Do you think that helps him?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is I think that helps. That helps. I also think that just even with him, if early on when he was here, if it was let's say he missed a class or something, again, maybe previously, there's a consequence. I mean, Jared, you got to be perfect. Like, you don't have margin of error. And nobody's perfect, obviously, and it's very normal, I mean, you have an 8 a.m. class, you got to be there. If you're at 8:10, man, that's late. So for Jared, that's a consequence. Now, another guy on our team who's going to graduate in 3 years, and he's been, a model student. If he misses a class, you're not going to. Hey, man, just make sure you get the class the next time. But with Jared, there is no margin of error, and I think he's appreciated that. He has never one time said, man, coach, this is too. He's appreciated the structure and discipline. And I always have said this about college, more than anything, as important as it is for academics, it's so important for young people to get just life lessons on stuff, on time management, on being where you need to be. And these things will help him later on in life. And it's not just, it's for all of our guys on things in life. So I think it's it's a positive thing. And there's nothing wrong with using basketball as an avenue to help you get better in life. There's nothing wrong with that.
What did he bring tonight? It seemed like when he went in and helped change the tenor of the game, toughness, what does he bring tonight?
Jaron's been just, both last 2 games, including the Northern Iowa game, he's changed the tempo of the game just because he's tough, he's got a tremendous motor, and he's a high energy guy. And he loves defense. And you know what? He comes from a tough area. I mean, Dayton, Ohio is not easy. That's a tough neck of the woods, and I'm proud of the young man. He's really done well. And again, he's not perfect. He's to this point he's done well. But I'm also saying that he's not. It's not like, oh, okay, well, it's we're just crowning ourselves a national championship or anything, or saying that he's made it. He's still got every day. We just got to continue to improve and get better, because again, he's only been here for a few months, and it's going to take a process of time before you fully changed everything mentally before we get to that point.
Obviously, with every decision he makes, his future's at stake. Do you think he recognizes that you took a chance on him as well, and that not your future's not at stake, but certainly you take hits if he messes up?
No doubt, very much so, and I've told him that, and he knows. But you know what? And to the credit, our athletic directors, because both R.C. Johnson and Tom Bowen were aware, Dr. Raines. I mean, so we all put our neck on the line, you know, and we wouldn't have done that if he was a guy that was a bad person. You know what I mean? He made mistakes, made some dumb mistakes, but he's not a bad person. Like his spirit about him is not to hurt. You know, his spirit is a very kind spirit. He's very unselfish. He's good to people. He's actually very respectful, and so we took a chance, but. We also know that's part of college. You know, Gary, that's part of, like I said, people are not going to be perfect, and it probably won't be the last chance we take on people either. And there's nothing wrong with that.
How satisfying is it to see guys executing things now that you worked on in practice wasn't the case in the Bahamas?
Well, you know, Jason, I mean, maybe the Bahamas was, looking back, could have helped us, you know, in a sense that at least we knew where some of our deficiencies. We worked on them. Defensively, we were good tonight against a good Ohio team. I'm telling you, that team's going to be in the end, a top 100 RPI team. They're going to win their league. They're well coached. They got good players. But we held them under 40% from three, under 30%, or 40% from the field, under 30% for the three. So that's a good win for us, and we play with really good energy. We've practiced well. We've had good energy. We're not going to be a methodical, perfect team. We're going to be a little sloppy here and there. But as long as we've got really good energy and come out and play hard and play with the right passion and spirit, and again, I've said it for my 4 years as a head coach. I'm such a believer in energy, such a believer. And we've played with energy before and lost games. Arizona in the NCAA tournament, we played with great energy, but we lost. Last year at Southern Miss, we played hard and great energy, but we lost. So that doesn't guarantee you wins, but when you have talent and you play with great energy, it gives you a much better opportunity to win the game.
And Josh, along the lines of energy, I don't think it's a coincidence that you have Johnson, who's one of your highest energy guys, and Shaq and DJ. And they made the difference at the 15-40 mark. You're down 8-2. You make a switch. Johnson comes in. Talk about the Johnson-Shaq combination that seemed to be working so much. Shaq was beating guys down the court.
Yeah, you know what, and that's part of what we've done with our mental mini boot camp is keep guys. You got to dig in. You got to push through it. And Shaq has gotten better of accepting hard work and practice instead of trying to take a shortcut. Shaq's now understanding. Okay, this is helping me. And instead of saying, Coach, when's practice over, he just keeps his mouth shut and does his job. And Shaq is again, he's a high motor guy, and he's a high energy guy. And when you have that, it's contagious. It's positive energy that's contagious. And I wanted to say something on Farrakhan Hall because look, I know it's not easy. He started. He's a senior. He's not starting. He hasn't played as many minutes, but he has practiced his butt off. He's worked hard. He's had a tremendous attitude, and was tremendous in the game attitude-wise. And he actually gave us a good lift today when he played. I know he didn't play a lot of minutes, but he gave us a good lift in the short minutes that he played.
Josh, how much fun is it to talk about Jaron, the basketball player today, instead of the baggage that he brought? You know, that's all anybody wants to talk about. It has to feel good as a coach to finally talk about the guy performing on the basketball court.
Right. Well, you know, Mike, Jaron, you're right. It's nice to talk about his game. Like in the post game there with Pete Gillen when we were out there, he said, "This is great. We're gonna take this all the way to the championship." You know, and that's just Jaron. You know, and I said, when I got on, I said, now Jaron, let's just take this one game at a time. Let's just get to Austin. But that's his motor. You know what I mean? Again, that's his spirit about him. Just being really not nothing malicious. He just said, "Hey, let's just go do this." But that's his mindset. I think he's very appreciative of the opportunity, and so it's nice to talk about that. He hasn't taken it for granted. He's been appreciative. He's not entitled to anything, and so you can respect that about him. And he's making a conscientious effort of just doing things the right way. Again, I repeat, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to be perfect, but you know, to this point, you know, he's been pretty good in all areas. And so I'd like to it's been nice to talk about the hoops part of it.
Hey, Coach, I know we talked a lot
Corey.
about Jaron, but what about Shaq? Talk a little bit about
Yeah.
Shaq and his game tonight, Coach.
And Corey, I want to say this, and I want to talk about Shaq, but I'm really proud on Joe Jackson again, man. I told him in the pregame, him and Chris Crawford, man, those guys, the way they're playing together with their energy, and the way Joe's been in practice and how he's been energized, it's given me another pep in my step. And I'm an energy giver and a high motor guy. I'm wired, but he's given me an extra step just because the way his body language and his positive enthusiasm. But Shaq has been really good. Corey, Shaq's been really good just in all areas. And like I said, he's accepted work ethic. He's accepted instead of trying to take a shortcut, what do I need to do to continue to get better so I can, stay on the floor and help my team. And he's done that. He's picked it up, so I'm proud of Shaq. He's going to be a good player. The best basketball for Shaq's ahead of him. Doesn't mean, again, I'm sure there's going to be some ups and downs, but he's just got to continue to dig in so he can bring it every night.
Coach, you started the season with Joe Jackson as your point guard, and then you moved Crawford to the point, moved Joe off the ball, and even tonight, you had times where you had Johnson with the point and those two guys flanked on the wings. How much do you like Johnson as your point guard, and could you foresee a circumstance where he becomes the team's starting point guard?
Well, Chris right now has been really good at the point. I mean, Chris and Joe are feeding off of each other, and Jaron, the way that I look at it, we don't really have just one true point. We can play multiple guards, and I think we're interchangeable, which makes it harder to guard. And right now, Joe's at a high level. I'm telling you, the last 3 games, or the last 2 games and the 30 minutes of Northern Iowa, Joe's been at a very high level. And it's not just, like today he was 4 of 11, but he's been at a high level with assists to turnovers and just his energy defensively. He was really good defensively, and he's just playing free. He's playing really free, so I'm really proud of Joe. Chris has been really good. I mean, really, really good. And Jaron's a guy, again, out of those 4 guys with Antonio too, Chris, all 4 of those guys are interchangeable and can play multiple positions on the floor.
You got a lot of rebounds. Oh, I'm sorry. You got a lot of rebounds from those guys.
Yeah.
All your guards, right? I think they had like
Yeah.
15 combined. That's
Guard
something that you
rebounding,
guys-
guard rebounding. I've always said this, part of our issues we've had in the past, we haven't been a good rebounding team, has been our guards haven't rebounded well. And obviously that's been a point of emphasis this all off-season and preseason has been rebounding, and it's, we're right now doing a nice job on the glass, but main reason is our guards have been have stuck their nose in there and come up with 50-50 balls.
I was going to say that you kind of seem to get a kick out of watching Joe tonight, almost like he was
I
firing
love-
you
look,
up.
I'm telling you, when he's plays like that, and even in practice, I got an extra pep in my step. I'm and like, even like I told my wife when I was home, she was, I said, hey, look, the caravan's moving. If you don't want to be on this caravan, we're moving on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but I said that, meaning that, hey, because I was just so excited about Joe. I mean, that just lifted my day up. I'm a wired guy as it is, high motor and high energy. But when Joe's giving me that extra, I love where Joe's mental state right now. I love it. And that gives me so that, just my wife was, yelling at me because the babies were crying and this and that, and I was like, hey, the caravan's moving, you gotta hop on. I mean, just,
Josh, we saw the team.
I love her dearly, trust me, she's my best friend. She is my best friend.
Bring her on trips. We saw Tark.
She's a poor woman.
Tark played 12 minutes tonight. Your thoughts? We finally saw the team we expect to see getting up and down the court. Is this team better in transition and playing full court without Tark in there?
No, I mean, Tark, obviously. I actually thought, I don't know what everyone else felt, but when we went Tark and Shaq together, they were having trouble guarding those two, and those guys did a nice job. Look, Tark, obviously, all the previous stuff was discussed. So there's just more of a thing. Again, in due time, he'll continue. Him and Shaq together are pretty good. I think that's a pretty formidable front court. And I think one of the things that people talk about right now is some of our, and I said it, one of the great things coming out of the Bahamas was our front court play. I mean, I think we established we were pretty good in the front court. If we could get our guards being at that level, then we can be a pretty darn good team. And so Tark's going to, Shaq, you got Farrakhan, you got Stan and DJ. Those guys are all interchangeable, kind of like our guards, like I was telling Chris, and which makes it harder to guard.
Depends on the matchups, right?
It's a lot of it's on matchups. And tonight, you know, the way things were, and we went small ball at times just because they were shooting. But I thought Tark played well when he was in there. And again, you know, he was, you know, probably, you know, coming out of a game not playing, and then it's going to take a little bit just to get back in that rhythm too.
Josh, can you just, real quick on Austin Peay, just your thoughts
Yeah.
as you go into Saturday?
Austin Peay, and I said this on the radio after the game, my post game. I said, Tiger Nation, I don't want to hear about Louisville. Don't want to hear about it. I said, I don't want to hear about it. It doesn't matter. The most important game right now is Austin Peay. It's the next game. I told our team this. I said, guys, we've got to be locked in because we can enjoy this win for tonight, but we come tomorrow to practice. We're coming to work, and we've got to work. Let me tell you something. After UT Martin, I never have practiced the guys as hard as I've ever done after a game as I did on that Friday after UT Martin. Because I wanted to keep the intensity going and the energy going. So I said it in my post game. I told the guys I don't want to hear anything. If anyone tells you about Louisville, just give them the face sign. Just give them the hand sign. Don't let anyone bring up that game. I said the most important game is Austin Peay. They're well coached, and in this day and age, if you take anyone for granted, you know you can have anyone can beat you. So we've got to come out with the same type of intensity and locked in focus as we did versus Ohio.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, thanks everybody.